Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Joining me is General Ravi Shankar as we take a look at what should be happening in Bangladesh now. Interesting thing there is that they are wanting to conduct another elections, claiming that the just concluded one was a farce, that it was rigged. Well, the question there is, what if Sheikh Hasina again contests and wins? Then what are they going to do? This is US. Someone isn't really thinking, in my opinion. Let's see what the good general has to say about it. General Ravi Shankar, namaskar. Welcome to P Guru's channel, sir. How are you?
Namaskar. Thanks a lot once again. Good evening to you and everyone who's watching. Very interesting developments taking place. It's too early to predict too much about Bangladesh, but now that our interim government is in, we can start looking at the options and where things will go. We also have to see the larger, geopolitical angles. I think the elections are a little far away, right? And I think we can.
General Ravi Shankar,
Yeah.
let me start the ball rolling by observing that Modi has actually sent a congratulatory message to Yunus. My question, sir, is this, first of all, a sign that India is recognizing the new government? Two, is India accepting that the elections were rigged?
Look, the fact that he sent a congratulatory message to accepting the new government, right? There's nothing else. It's only, and he's not even a prime minister. He's only a chief advisor. So we are accepting it. Whether you like it or not, whether the elections were rigged or not, is a different story. This is no acceptance. You are accepting the state as it is. And also a certain amount of caution the Prime Minister has put about when he raised the issue of Hindus also. So there are layers to this whole story, which I think we need to look at it a little differently. My request is we should take an overview of what's happening in Bangladesh, because then the picture will come clear, and then we take on any questions.
Wonderful, sir. Let's take a look at the overall picture. General has put together a slide deck. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thanks. Can we have the next slide, please? This is the shape of things to come. That's what we're going to have a look at. Yeah, next. Look, at this point of time, we have an interim government in place with Yunus. Okay. But the situation is still volatile and it's far from stable. The fact that it is far from stable is very apparent when Mr. himself has come out and said, unless killings of minorities and atrocities on minorities, basically Hindus, don't stop, I'm not going to be in the government. So he's hoping. So the situation is far from stable. Look, it's easy to get into a revolution. But the day after the revolution, all the messy garbage in the flotsam and jetsam comes up. That needs cleaning up, and that process is going to be long, right? And it's not something. The run up to any revolution, is full of josh and all that. But the day after, when everything is over, that's what it is. Yeah, next one, please. So let's take a. Look, at this point of time, the political landscape is unclear. Let's be very clear. Law and order, it's not in hand. So if it's not in hand, to think of elections, I think is a little too far. As you go along, this is a caretaker government with about 15, 16 people who are professionals, a foreign secretary, a lawyer, a Supreme Court lawyer, a journalist, and all that put together, with students dictating the whole thing. Who's winding up the students, we don't know. How two students are there as part of this advisory committee or the Council of Ministers, call them whatever you want. Where do they get that, sense to run a government and all that? We don't know. So there's a hidden hand. I have no doubt about it. Let's not have doubt about it. In all this, they've kept the political parties out apparently. But what about the role of the Bangladesh? Remember, Awami League is not a pushover. It might have been, got caught in the flood of events. Yeah.
General, we are still having audio issues. Perhaps it's a chance that maybe you should log out and come in on your phone, sir. Something
Yeah, I'll do
isn't
that.
working here. Yeah.
Okay, I'll
Thank
do
you,
that.
sir.
I'll
Thank
do.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
I'll
you.
do that.
So, viewers, we are fixing it. We have been fixing it for about a few minutes. We thought we had it all under control. Who knows who is trying to put, their foot in between all these things to try and, it's very, very important conversation that we are having with General Ravi Shankar and, of course, a certain neighbor who shall not be named wants to not have this discussion because they don't want the world to know what exactly is going on in Bangladesh. So, in the meantime, let's take a quick look at our app, P-Guru's app. I don't know how many of you have seen that app, but anyway, General Ravi Shankar is back. Sir, let's
Can you
put
hear
back
me now?
and continue. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Good. Right. So as I was saying, what will be the role of BNP, Awami League, and JEA in this whole process? We still don't know. It's all not clear. Things are not, their whole hand is not at play. We don't know how long this government will run. If you read the media in Bangladesh, they expect it to run minimum 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6. So that's a long time. Economy is completely in tatters. Let's be very clear about it. They're under the IMF program and X, Y, Z. And I don't know whether in the next 3 to 4 months who will come to help them out. See, like I said, the revolution is easy to go into, but very difficult to come out of. Okay. The army is reluctant, very clearly. The army might still have its own issues to sort out. There might be a radical element in the army. This chief might not be fully in control of the army. Remember, 3 years back or 4 years back, the army went through a mutiny, right? And so there are issues in this country, and this country is prone to wild eruption. It's not a normal country by any stretch of imagination. Okay, the minorities clearly are unsafe at this point of time. Hindus under attack. Something has to be done, and for which we'll see what the prime minister is. Elections. I don't think elections will happen next 4 to 5 months. By then, the situation will be clear and things like that. Till yesterday, that Sheikh Hasina won't come back. Today's son has said she'll come back. Awami will fight the election. So this is something which I think we should go there also. I mean, that's the way I look at it. Elections are too far away. Yeah, please.
Sir, how much of the percentage of army are the minorities, especially the Hindus?
Hardly any. If they are about 1%, it'll be too much. Let's be very clear. So the army is the last place where these people would have been accepted. I mean, I'm not. I really don't know anything, but I have not come across a Hindu Bangladeshi officer, right? And I'm not, so there hardly anyone. So that's the thing. But when you speak to Bangladeshi officers, I've in fact dealt with them through my career in some stage or other. They come across as quite balanced, right? And especially after their exposure in UN and things like that and international forums, uh, I don't think they'll get down to what Pakistan Army does. But then you can't rule anything because this army, like I said, had errors of they've finished off Mujibur Rahman, Ziaur Rahman also was assassinated. Then the whole lot of internal eruptions they've had. So mutiny. So that's why I say the place is at this point of time still like a jelly. It's a jelly state. You don't know which side it's going to settle. Okay, and elections and all. I think all is very far. I'm not looking at it that far. That's the point. Yeah, next slide, please. So yeah, you're going to have a long period of turbulence ahead. You have unemployed youth bulge. What do you do with them? What are they going to do? I mean, has anyone thought of it? I think this government and the next government and the next government will have problems. You look, till Hasina was there, the economy was doing well. She went and played off India against China, China against USA, USA against India. All these, she kept the economy going, right? And everything was fine. But today it's a bleak economy. So let's be very clear. There's going to be internal strife. There's going to be internal strife between Awami League, BNP, and JEI. The students are a new angle to this whole story. We don't know how they'll swing. Then there's going to be external meddling. Let's not be let's not have an iota of a doubt that America and China and Pakistan will meddle. Okay. Then what about climate change effect? It's a standard thing which we analyze. If the sea water rises 1 to 2 feet, 50-30% of Bangladesh is likely to be underwater. In which case, what happens to the people? There'll be a huge migration. Even now, there's going to be a migration. If there's migration, which country will get affected? India. As it is with a very good government, a government which is cooperating with us, we couldn't stop the migration. Everyone used to say, migration from Bangladesh happens every second day. So we've had problems with the whole story, right? So all these are all turbulences which we cannot wish away. Next. Yeah. Now, what is the story? This is something from the commerce community which has come out. That what do the trade experts say? What is the future after Hasina? Next, please. See, this is Mr. Famida Khatun. She is the executive director of Center for Policy Dialogue. What did she say? And this is an interview of day before yesterday or day before. The so-called economic growth projected by the Hasina government was not inclusive and did not benefit majority. XYZ. She talked of corrupt politicians, bureaucrats, businessmen, and all that. But the next thing is important. All major economic indicators are at downward fall and macroeconomic stability is broken. Unless this is fixed to some extent, this country will go from pillar to post. So the interim government has a lot of challenges on economic fronts. But hopefully with correct policies and enabling environment, the economy will turn around. I doubt, because Professor Yunus himself has issues, right? He has to get over that. Does he have the support of everyone? At this point of time, some students and some people have said, okay, he can be there. What about when the actual politics comes to this issue? Yeah, next, please. Yeah, what are the Chinese interests? The Chinese have tremendous interest. They have invested into Bangladesh hell of a lot. You think they'll just sit up, give up and go off? They have always sought entry. In fact, the whole story is about the fight between China and USA. We'll come to that, and we have to understand the larger picture. China has always sought entry into Bay of Bengal for their two-ocean strategy. Once they have over two oceans, entry into two oceans, then they deem themselves to be a superpower. And this might be far-fetched, but Bangladesh is the patsy for that. Bangladesh and China have had good military-to-military and trade relations. Can you imagine 2016-20? 17% of all Chinese exports have gone to Bangladesh. There's a submarine base in Bay of Bengal, which was inaugurated last year, called BNS Hasina. Right? That submarine base has got 6 bays. China has sold Bangladesh only 2 submarines, Ming class submarines, and 2 frigates. The 2 old frigates. Okay, you can't put. Why do you need 6 bays in a base where you have only 2 submarines? So China is making a big entry here. There's a major military exercise which happened in April, May 24, and there's a pact which is signed, and that was probably these 2 issues are the ones which have triggered American angst. That for a long time to come, there's a military-to-military exercises between Bangladesh Army and armed forces and the PLA to carry on. This is not come out in public anywhere, but it has come out PLA Delhi. Okay, then no one talks about it. So China is not all fully happy with Bangladesh also. They had a major port at Sonadia, which they were vying for. Sheikh Hasina cancelled that. That was in 2020, 4 years back. Over a period of time, she's given a contract to Japan at Matarbari. Matarbari is just about 30 kilometers away from Sonadia. And then the Chinese have never been happy with the shift to India. Last month, when Hasina went, 10th July, she went to China, she had to short a visit and come back because she was given a cold shoulder. But at the same time, she signed some BRA projects also. So the Chinese were actually perplexed with Sheikh Hasina. Then she came back, gave the Teesta project to India. Okay. Incidentally, in May, communists in Bangladesh visited China. Why would they visit? Right. Then the CCP leaders in June came to Bangladesh. And whom did they BNP leaders specifically? Now there is a flow. If you see this whole story, China has deep interest, and I wouldn't be surprised if at some point of time China were wishing, it's that story of Beckett. Beckett wished, Peter wished Beckett away, and someone else murdered Beckett. That's the old story. Okay, the same thing might have happened here. China might have wished Hasina away, and the murder would have been done by the ISI. Okay, we should not quote that story. Okay, next. Let's look at the US interest. This is the crux. Contain China. They want to contain China. And this is a very, very major factor which many people, I don't see many people even talking of it. Why is this come about? India is seen as a reluctant partner, not prepared to take up arms against China. That's the US perception. Chinese inroads into Bay of Bengal are just not acceptable. If you look at the global footprint of China, Bay of Bengal, China doesn't have, USA doesn't have any footprint. They were banking on the Indian footprint. But lo and behold, China is making its footprint and we are not able to stop them. And they've gone through a typical regime change operation. You were talking of Salvador, or what's happening in Venezuela, or what happened in Bosnia, or Afghanistan, and all this color revolutions and Maidan revolutions which happened. When the Euromaidan which happened in Ukraine before where the Timoshenko was thrown out. These are all typical. There's a pattern. What about St. Martin's Island? I'll show you a map and I'll explain to you what the St. Martin's Island is all about. Now you have to understand, this is St. Martin's Island. Okay, just next you have this is just a 10-kilometer island. Okay, see where it is. It's 1 hour flight away from China. The place here hit China. Similarly, India. Okay, and you actually St. Martin's Island with USA kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Very few people are getting this, and why? That is why India is not happy with this whole story. That's why India doesn't want anyone inimical around. So this meddling will continue. It's not going to think. There will be a meddling for who will get hold of influence in Bangladesh. USA will still go for St. Martin's Island. China will still continue with its submarine base, and probably they'll try and push things to Myanmar. So we're going to see strife here. That is fundamental. And in this strife, do you think Bangladesh will return to normal? No. So India has to be prepared for this abnormal Bangladesh, besides having a hostile political entity out there. Next. Okay. What is Pakistan's interest? We must look at it. Radical regime in Bangladesh upsets India. It suits Pakistan and ISI the best. It eases pressure on its eastern border. Then you'll not be sitting over his head. It pulls down India in the long run. If India is this thing, so India's role, regional power, everything gets punctured. It creates space to meddle in India's northeast. Because the majority of this migration which is likely to happen will not come toward, some will come this side towards Bengal and all that, but a majority will go into Assam. It will go into Meghalaya. It will go into Manipur and Nagaland. Already there are, everyone understands Brahmaputra Valley, but there's a parallel valley called the Barak Valley. And Barak Valley is completely Hailakandi, Karimganj, Kachar, a lot of Muslims. In fact, Karimganj and Hailakandi are Muslim majority districts, 60% Muslims. And then there are a lot of Nagas in Manipur which have come up along that border. And now Nagas are marrying into Muslim families, and they call Sima, Miyas. Miya from Muslim. Sema is the tribe, Sema Nagas, right? So there is a thing. So all this we have to look at. So that meddling there will be, the problem is more. Then they'll want to take revenge on Bangladesh. After all, they will Bangladesh theirs. Now, just regime change instigated by ISA puts ISI and Pakistan in good books of China and USA and gives leverage for their existence. See, that is why their loans, everything will get money. After all, like I told you, Pakistan is playing the murderer wicket both to China and USA. I mean, this is something we have to understand. Then in Pakistan, there's a lot of talk of adverse comparison with Bangladesh. That look, Bangladesh has gone ahead, we are behind. Now everyone will say, no, no, Bangladesh is gone back. We are the ones who are ahead. And ISI has long penetrated Jamaati Islamic. So all these are there in Pakistan's interest. So now let's see Indians' interest. I mean, we have to look at our angle. Ultimately, the whole thing, when I look at Bangladesh looking ahead, what is my interest in it? What has our Prime Minister said? What do I want in Bangladesh? Yeah, can I have the next slide, please? Okay, before I go there, is there a domino effect possible? Because this has come up in straight thinking in China and Pakistan. Why? Both have autocratic and remote leaders. Here also the same. There's a princeling theory which is going on in China. This Hasina is a princeling. Xi Jinping. So is Li Xiang, who's their prime minister. There are princelings. Both are, if there's an economic slowdown, high population densities, youth unemployment, and problematic and unsupportive armies, especially in the PLA and Xi Jinping are having a lot of issues. So could there be a domino effect? There is a thinking of this kind going on both in China and in Pakistan. You get a straight thing of it. That will happen, I don't know. But it is our job to understand that this can happen. Whether it happens or not, we don't know. Okay, next, please. Yeah. Yeah. What is the PM's message? Read to this. Best wishes to Professor Muhammad Yunus on assumption of his new responsibility. So he's given virtual acceptance of the fact that Muhammad Yunus will be there. He's asking for an early return to normalcy, ensuring safety and protection of Hindus. So he's not talking of elections so far. Right? What does normalcy involve? We'll have to see. Is it only physical normalcy or political normalcy? Right? The Prime Minister has very clearly said safety and protection of Hindus. Now, India remains committed to working with Bangladesh to fulfill the shared aspirations of our peoples for peace and security and development. We have very explicitly said no other head of state has conveyed such a message. Our things are very clear. Next, please. Now, what are interests? A secure and stable Bangladesh is interest. Our interest is for a stable Northeast. We don't want any foreign influence in this area. Instability in Nepal, Bangladesh, and Myanmar will have repercussions. Let's be very clear about it. Nepal, you have I wouldn't say a hostile government, but a government which is not completely. Myanmar, is in a problem. Bangladesh has now gone into a problem. So we have to look at our own internal issues, which we have to handle this thing. We also have to understand we have given a line of credit of 8 billion to Bangladesh. We have major interests or companies have invested. So this investment has to come out. I mean, it's at stake. Right? And this is just the formal. What about the informal economy which is going on with Bangladesh? Yeah, we'll talk of it next. Yeah, come. Next, please. This is what assistant professor at Department of Economics and at Dhaka-based East West University says. The first part is fine. If Delhi truly values friendship, it has strategic interests, it should not limit its relations to just one political party, all that nonsense. Look at the second thing. He says India remains the country of choice for Bangladeshis. It doesn't have a choice. Bangladesh has no choice except India. For several reasons, from culture to tourism to business, India should consider public opinion in Bangladesh and respect leadership Okay, that's fine. Now, according to him, bilateral trade is about 12 to 15 billion with smuggling also. It's economy. A hostile economy, a hostile India to them means all this going down. This economy will give you tremendous leverages. We need to exploit it. And for that, you need to have internal strength, internal unity. One good thing which has come out so far is that all our political parties across all divides and say, look, we are united with the government to go ahead. The thing is, will that last for long or not? We'll have to see. Okay, all these angles will come up. Yeah, next, please. Now, what should our approach? Very clearly, Sheikh Hasina has history. She is not going to come back in a hurry. Okay. If she comes, well and good, then we'll deal with it. But at this point of time, it's remote. So let's deal with the new situation. And we need to know how to deal with the new actors. Look, we've done that in Maldives and we're quite successful. See, the Maldives government has, the PM has come to us. Our external affairs minister is going there for 3 days there. A lot of things are under back to normal. Yeah, for about 5-6 months, we were at a little issue, but things are getting back to normal. Sri Lanka was also on the same stage where people went to Paksha's house and ransacked it and all, but they're coming back. But still, things have not gone back to normal completely. We are with them. So after this, like I said, the messy aftermath of a revolution will throw up opportunities. And being your next door neighbor and which has surrounded Pakistan completely, right? Or not Pakistan, Bangladesh completely, we'll have this thing. Okay. Give time and space, let that thing settle down. There's no point in unnecessarily talking and saying, oh, you do this, you do that, you do that. Let the situation evolve. We don't know what, like yesterday, we never spoke about Sheikh Hasina coming back. Today, we are speaking of it. That's a new development. New developments will take place. You need to have strategic patience. At the same time, show a stick implicitly. How you want to do it is up to the government. You need to enable Sheikh Hasina to go into sanctuary somewhere. Her being here will always create problems the way you have to deal with Bangladesh. So it's in India's interest she gets sanctuary somewhere and safe. Okay. Seal the borders and prevent migration. That's the biggest problem. And this issue is not 1 day, 2 days. It's going to be for the next 5 to 10 years. Right? Restart economic ties because that's the way you'll get leverages. Okay. Let this post-Hasina days play out. We've had, like I told you, we had the experience of Maldives and Sri Lanka. Don't get into a sprint game. This is not a sprint game. This is a marathon. You just started a marathon. The track is different. It's uphill. Okay, it could be a steeplechase come marathon. I mean, whichever way you look at it. And don't start getting against Pakistan and China. Find convergence with USA against China. Get to the people. That's the major approach. Yeah, next, please. Yeah. So what specific actions can you take? You can engage with various stakeholders. Start doing that. You have the equities, you have the linkages. Nothing is lost in that. Right? And in these days of communication, you can start talking to them. This includes political parties, military leaders, civil society, open channels of communication that gets your message across. Support democratic forces and institutions. Right? Promote stability and democracy. Encourage regional cooperation. You use other countries. And all these are long term. Nothing is going to happen in a day. Whatever has happened has happened. It's not going to unwind for the next 5-6 months. Enhance security measures. Right? Provide humanitarian assistance if needed. If there could be a refugee crisis, there could be a humanitarian crisis. Economic support. Give it to them. Otherwise, if you don't give economic support to them at this point of time, you'll find someone else coming and giving, and the situation will become even worse. But protect your own interests. In any case, your own interests are there. You're invested in Bangladesh. Insist on improving connectivity, right? Then you monitor your own extremist groups. You can't let these extremist groups getting space in Bangladesh. That's the worst thing for us. Next. support reconciliation, promote political stability. These are the things. Develop contingency plans. Did we have a foolproof contingency plan? We did have some contingency plan. I can see it working. Right? Border infrastructure. You need to prevent illegal cross-border activities, and there are plenty. Now that Sheikh Hasina is not there, we have known this thing. We can be stricter. Intelligence. Start a good intelligence process. Revamp your intelligence process. Promote people-to-people contact. That's the most difficult thing. Look, you could get back into Afghanistan people-to-people contact. Again, Maldives. I get it of Sri Lanka. It's people-to-people contact. Start that. Continue trade and supplies. So all these are there. Yeah, we can take the slides out. I have nothing else to in the slides. Yeah, we don't need this. Sachin, take it out, please. So all these issues are there, which we have to factor in when we talk of how do you handle Bangladesh ahead. This is not going to be a story where you're going to, like they say, Chat Pangni Pat Byan. It's not that. This is going to be its minimum, way I look at it, minimum 2 to 3 months or a month at least before some semblance of stability can come in. Another 3 to 4 months before you see some political contours to come in. Right? And till new convergences and new leverages are bought and the things are put together, and then we can start thinking of rebuilding our relationship. Today, we are in stabilization phase. Regain stability. Right? I hope I put across this whole story, what I see ahead for the next 1 year, how things are going to happen. In the meanwhile, things might go wrong also. So, Sree Iyer ji, I've given my views. Have your questions? We'll answer it. We'll discuss it. Then probably we'll take on questions the way you want.
General Ravi Shankar, would you say that there perhaps was an intelligence failure on part of RAW?
I don't think so. There would be certain gaps in the intelligence which would have got plugged, but it's a dynamic situation. I don't think. See, the fact that the Bangladesh aircraft carrying Sheikh Hasina was accompanied by 2 Rafales, and she left in a matter of 10-15 minutes, meant that we were monitoring the situation. Rafale cover couldn't have been given in such a hurry. I mean, you don't give 2 fighters coming in and joining in 15 minutes is not so, unless they are ready somewhere. So there would be gaps, certain things we wouldn't have known, but I think we saw this coming. And I don't think Yeah, please.
No. Please finish your thought. I thought you were done. So sorry.
I don't think we completely faltered, but I do agree we might not have, been on the button completely.
So, General Ravi Shankar, I'll come back to the first question that I started out with. Let's assume that it is the United States which wants to hold another elections, which in their books is fair. I mean, US, Lou, Uzra, and Blinken. You guys, have you read my book, Who Painted My State Purple? Do you know there's a reason why I have that as my backdrop today? You guys stole the election in 2020. And you are still trying to do that. I mean, it's so overt now in some states, it's laughable. And you think that you can oversee a fair election somewhere else? Let's first clean our house. Don't talk to others. Don't preach to others. I think these people have completely lost the plot. Sirji, I have to tell you this. As an American, I feel sad because both political parties are so far away from each other now that it's almost like enemy party. It's not like a democratic sparring partner or an adversary. It is just becoming too much. And now US thinks that it can hold fair elections in Bangladesh when it can't even mend its own house and order. So the question to you is, how does the United States know that Sheikh Hasina, having got the sympathy factor, will not come back and sweep the election, then what are you going to do?
Well, we don't know. Look, let's put it this way. You analyze all actions of regime changes by USA. Have they been successful?
None.
None. So how do you expect they're successful here? They've done a regime change. They've installed Yunus, who, the way I look at it, was basically supported by enemies within USA. Because now a lot of stories are coming about his background. And, we all know Grameen Bank, this, that, all that. Okay. So will Yunus be able to deliver? See, let me tell you, the joker in this pack is the army. The army is reluctant. Without the army, nothing can happen. And the army is reluctant. The army is reluctant and there's no stability. I think everyone will lose in this bargain. I mean, I see everyone losing in this whole bargain. I don't think neither will threat and violence come up, nor will that base function for China. It will not be a good thing for us, and Bangladesh itself will go down the drain. Once Bangladesh goes down the drain, the rest is all immaterial.
Next one, please. Vijay Kumar Srivastava wants to know what had happened suddenly. Iranian anti-tank vehicle bomb. Do you think Iran will reiterate? Namaskar, sir.
I mean, it was completely out of context. Where has it got banned?
Yeah, let's skip this one. Sorry, Vijay Kumar ji. We'll stay on topic on this one. We will not take other questions. So please unstar those who are not about Bangladesh. Magnet Ranga wants to know, Namaskar. Wasn't Bharat aware of plans in Bangladesh? Could Bharat have stopped Hindu killing? What can the government do now to help Hindus in Bangladesh?
Look, I don't think the government anticipated this kind of a outpouring. To some extent, they felt that, look, 21st of July, the matter seemed to be under Sheikh Hasina's control completely. Because the student leaders had said, look, we are withdrawing or protests and all that, things were limping back. 21st July and 5th August, 2 weeks, things turned over. So it's too fast for us to do anything. Hindu killings, how can you stop it? I don't think you can stop it. You don't have a military presence there. There is not a thing. It's a sovereign state, you can't interfere. And in that kind of a chaos where it's happening, do you save the government? Do you save Hindus? I don't think you could have done that. Now, what you do, already the Prime Minister said so. Now he'll build levers. Levers will be built. Already the Mr. Yunus has said that, look, unless the killings of minorities or whatever against the minorities stop, I'm not going to continue. So he's got the message. Right now, if he goes Bangladesh to chaos again, in which case many other things will open up. At that, I'm not going into that.
Next one, please. Jaya Raman wants to know, how come our Muslim brothers rallied for Palestine while our Hindu brothers are being massacred and temples destroyed?
Well, that I don't think it's a no-brainer. You have to expect it, right? Yeah.
Vijay Kumar Srivastava wants to know, no elections in Bangladesh. Only option India Army should take over. Your views, sir.
Out of question. How do you go and handle 197 million people? The Indian Army doesn't have the capability to handle 197 million people. You don't just like that. You have to have a political end game. Okay? You don't enter and it's a snake's pit and you'll never come out of it. What is the political end game out of this whole story? We should be very clear. Wars are entered. I remind people of what Mr. Vajpayee said. He said, आज मैं लड़ाई शुरू कर दूंगा, खत्म कैसे करूंगा? इसका एंड गेम क्या है? Indian Army going in. Okay, that is not an option at all. Yeah.
Next one, please. JBJP wants to know, General Sir, on Bangladesh issue, discussions by political military leadership, journalists talk about USA, China, Pakistan, Jamaat, etc. Why no discussion on Bangladeshi Hindus?
what do you want the discussion? After all, they have to be protected. They are a minority, right? And look, let's be very clear on certain fundamentals. They are Bangladeshi nationals. They're not Indian. Right? You are a nation which is the you don't support Hindus worldwide. This is not nowhere your stated what shall I say, logic or your stated stance. Okay, you don't have a leg to stand on. Okay, some Hindu gets into a problem in Afghanistan. What do you do? The same problem exists here. How do you go and interfere in sovereign countries? And why are we not we are discussing? We are discussing this at this point of time. How do you? After all, your prime minister has given a message, and he'll deliver this. I mean, it's not necessary that every time you want that you to send the army in. And you also have to understand you are looking at a situation where 1 week before this whole story, 300 Bangladeshis have been killed. They're not Hindus. The police has struck strike there. There's complete anarchy. The army is unwilling. You look at the situation in Bangladesh, right? And there is a sentiment against Hindus. There's no doubt. There's a sentiment against India. And that has rubbed off against Bangladeshi Hindus. We should have taken care of this earlier for different reasons. We didn't. We didn't anticipate this. So there are a whole lot of issues. If you go into that, you'll never come out of it. The thing is, you look ahead to see how do you protect them. There are prime ministers. Have you ever seen our prime minister including this particular statement about Hindus in particular and minorities to another head of state? Whether he's interim or Parka is a different story. So there are messages going. I'm sure at lower level things are happening. I'm sure people are speaking to the army. So let's hope for the best.
Shritik Kothari wants to know, sir, assuming the situation doesn't improve over the next few days, will it be appropriate to raise new emergency battalions of BSF and deploy army troops along the border? Can't have more jihadis here.
Yeah, you don't need extra emergency battalions of BSF all deploying. You don't need, you'd have enough troops otherwise also, right? You just need to, if you want to deploy the army, you can. But I don't see that situation coming up. We have enough troops, let me put it this way. And India has got enough capability to handle all this. Don't worry. Yeah, next.
Future DG Artillery wants to know, sorry for political question, but what is it about Hindu lives in Bangladesh that doesn't matter as much as Muslims in Gaza or Ukrainians? West is always blind to our genocides and instead supports them.
Look, you're not getting into it, which is no logic. I mean, no answer. The West, why are you talking about the West? We should bother about our interests. Our interests are to save them. Let's see how to save them. Why we get into a debate on this kind of a thing? These are negative debates. A lot of people say, sir, ye hua, wo hua, kisne kiya, wo kiya, who done it? Usse kya lene dena yaar? You're in a situation. If your boat is sinking, would you like to save yourself or see who punched my boat? I mean, you have a choice. You're at sea, there's a storm on, your boat is leaking, you're about to sink. So if that is the case, what do you want to do first? You want to save yourself, isn't it? So let's save ourselves first. Rather than saying who created the storm and who punctured my boat. Yeah.
Next question from Anand Gopalan Kidambi. Can Bangladesh expect India's support similar to Sheikh Hasina's rule?
No, you can't. It has to be conditional. It will be conditional. It has to be conditional. And that conditionality has to cater for India's interests. And if a prime minister has said Bangladesh is in Hindus and minority as are his interest, it has to cater for that. There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
Next one, please. Rasheshwar Nath Rana wants to know, will this affect the so-called chicken neck area?
Zero. Zero effect. Nothing. There are a lot of people who are talking, oh, cut off the chicken neck, expand into that and all that. All that is asking for trouble. Okay? This is not the time to fiddle around there. Okay?
Like,
Yeah, look, you have enough trouble as it is. You don't get into military adventurism just because of this. Talking is one thing, doing is another thing. You have to, you are in a, like I said, difficult situation. Get out of that situation first, stabilize that situation. The chicken neck area is not your vulnerability at this point of time. Okay? Vulnerability is something in migration, you strive in Bangladesh, saving Hindus. Do that first. Your interests are there, your investments are there. You need East-West connectivity. Your Northeast is going to be back to that one line. The way to save that chicken neck and endure against that chicken neck is to go back into Bangladesh and conditional support. And that conditions, and like I said, all these things have to be taken care of. You're more than that. And you have to find new convergence with USA. USA is middle. Okay, get USA on your side. You want, again, you can keep about USA. Let's talk real politics. USA has done this problem. It has created a problem. It has created a problem for themselves. It has created a problem for us. It has created a problem for China and Pakistan. Pakistan also is not in a great shape. I'll talk of Pakistan later. So what do? One of the smart moves is converge with USA and push China out. This is an opportunity. You don't do that. You will find Pakistan playing the killer of the bucket role. Would you like to do that again? So you have a lot of things to look after.
next one, please. Ravi Shankar SB wants to know, sir, Blitz director Salahuddin Chaudhary has claimed that Rahul Gandhi met Tariq Rahman of BNP in London.
Yeah, maybe he must have left. Met. So what if? He's a political leader. He needs to meet people. If he's met in London, so what if? You mean to say that's a conspiracy? I mean, look, don't take things too far. And when did this meeting happen? It happened day before yesterday. When did it happen? And what context did it happen? Okay. So, yeah.
Next one, please. Why a separate nation cannot be carved out of Bangladesh for Hindus? Sam wants to know.
I don't think we should get into this.
Thank you, Venki. Sir, condition of Bangladesh is analogous to that of a snake eating itself. Secondly, looking at Yunus Rand's chances of India out seem obvious sooner than later. Your views, please.
Yeah, this is a very interesting question. This is what my whole presentation is all about. Bangladesh is continuously got into its problems. It has not come out of it, right from 72 onwards. And 75 Mujib's assassination, thereafter Ziaur Rahman's assassination, then mutinies, then a lot of issues. Then you had the Begums in and out of prison. So it has never stabilized. But one thought that in the past 10-15 years, things had stabilized. Sheikh Hasina, I thought, stabilized, brought the economy up, their per capita income went up. A lot of good things happened in Bangladesh. But then politics is politics. So the internal dynamics of Bangladesh has never been settled. So it's like there's no doubt that it's like a snake eating itself. That I think is a very, very good observation, Venki. Now, the issue with Yunus is something which we need to understand. Now, he's a double-faced person as it comes out. He's a Nobel laureate who probably got his Nobel Prize through more lobbying than anything else, right? That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it, he's a genuinely man. Okay. But he has polarized political opinion within Bangladesh. Now, if he comes back and he starts talking of India out and all that, we'll have a problem. Bangladesh. In any case, he's not a permanent entity. He's going to be there only for about 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. What can he do? Look at it from a Bangladeshi point of view. Their first aim is to get a proper government in place. Okay, if whatever the polity in Bangladesh, whether it's the Chief Justice combined plus the President, Yunus, Army, everyone say the old elections are null and void, which they have already said. Okay, and they go into new elections. They have to hold elections. No, they have a political process going. This caretaker government is not forever. If this caretaker government lasts more than 6 years, it will have problems. Because the others will create problems for it. After all, the political parties, if they kept out of power, they'll create problems. And I already said the weakest link in this whole story is the Bangladesh army. If they're in Pakistan army, fit hai. Pakistan army would have already taken a danda, knocked it on everyone's head and said this caretaker government will continue and the chief will call the shots. Here, the chief at the first instance has gone to the sidelines. He is not prepared to take on anyone. The students have their own role to play. So there's a lot of chaos which is there. So India out is fine. But what do you do with the India which is with 4,000 kilometers? Where will you go? Who will give you food? Who will give you day-to-day items? USA will not give. China will not give. Okay. So there are issues. I don't think Yunus will be successful if he talks also of India out. But at the same time, I understand the sentiment of what you're saying. We are going to have a uphill climb out there. Let's prepare for it. And let's talk of how to handle this uphill climb. That's more important to me. Yeah.
Next one, please. Kannan Ramaswamy wants to know, what about a military solution by Bharat by widening Chicken Neck area and Chittagong areas?
There is no military solution here. Let me put it bluntly. If there's one odd military officer who comes and says there's a military solution, all the best and the rest of his thing. Look, why? Okay, let me put larger thing in context. Day before yesterday, we had a webinar where I got an ambassador and 3 generals, okay, to talk to you. One general was from Manipur, who's a veteran of Kargil, who's a hero in Kargil, who got a VRCO. I got to you General Atta Hasnain, who's an internationally known strategist. Then I got an ambassador. That ambassador, he's been an ambassador of India to Indonesia, West Germany, Africa. He's a very experienced man. Then I got someone who has served in the Northeast, General Murthy. And they all gave their opinion. Did one of them also say we'll take military action? Okay. You're not convinced? Tomorrow, come back, 8 o'clock. We're going to have another webinar where I'm going to get an army commander. I'm going to get a DGMO. And I'm going to get a person who was an advisor to Nagaland and Manipur, who is a former DG Assam Rifles on the show. And we're going to take their views. Okay. The DGMO was also the corps commander of the Sikkim Corps. He was in charge of this area. So was the other officer who was later the Western Army commander. He was also the corps commander in the Sikkim. He knows this area. You hear them. You ask Kannan Ramaswamy, come back tomorrow and ask this question, and I'll get one of them to answer. And people who have their senses about themselves, strategists, thinking people, ex-military people who have handled India's security at the highest level, will not even think of this. This is one of the worst options to get into at this point of time. Some other point of time when political equations are good, all this, many things can be done. That's a later in the story.
Apni ISP Pyar Square. Thank you so much. Sir, do you agree that Bangladesh crisis is entirely due to US and China and nothing to do with it?
No. He said it is entirely due to US and China had nothing to do with it. That's his question. Look, it is not so. Both have had, and that's what I keep saying. This is my theory. And I've shown you why China also had issues there. This is a rivalry between US and China which has led to this problem. Now this whole story has been, the वो क्या है, मियाँ क्या करेगा काजी जब मियाँ बीवी राजी, नो, the lady Kazi in the story is Pakistani.
Sir, it is Mia Bivi Razi, to kya karega Kazi.
Kazi. So the Kazi is Pakistani in this. The Pakistani has played in the ground level actions to please China and US by getting rid of Sheikh Hasina. Okay. In the process, he wants to eat his butter. And, वो अपना butter chicken खाना चाहता है बीच में. Understand, all these three chaps have had a hand to play. Color revolutions have to happen at ground level. US might have tremendous experience in color revolutions. So has China. That's why I showed you the Communist Party of Bangladesh people went to China. April, May. The Chinese Communist Party head came in June. All this when this High Court thing was happening. How do these things happen? The whole thing is at some point of time everything went out of control, and that's what Pakistan wanted. What Pakistan wanted was all. What is happening now is exactly what Pakistan wanted. Okay, so I mean this is a premise. I think both had a hand.
Thank you, Jack Sparrow. Who is and how are they spreading hatred towards minorities?
Well, that you have to understand that this is part of the media narratives which are there, that in India Muslims are being harmed, so we'll harm Hindus. It's a reflex kind of a scenario. It is also a reflex of, look, Hasina was seen to be close to India. The way to go against that is to sort out minorities. There are a lot of psychologies at play, a lot of narratives at play. So this is something, like I said, Jack, you get into this, now you are saying who punctured my boat. My boat is sinking right now. Who punctured my boat? I'll keep looking at the boat. I'll looking at the puncher. Who's punctured it? I'll go down. That's end of story. Or would you like to save yourself? Would you like to plug the gap at this point? That is important.
Thank you so much, General Ravi Shankar. It was a wonderful session, and viewers will be back again with General Ravi Shankar every Friday around this time. Today was a little early because we got an open slot, but we will be back again around this time every week. Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you.